When Vladimir Putin launched his invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, he envisioned a swift conquest, predicting victory in 5 days. He was gravely mistaken. Ukraine's fierce resistance, bolstered by Western aid, transformed a defensive struggle into a potential turning point by July 2025. No longer just surviving, Ukraine stands at a pivotal moment where victory, preserving sovereignty and securing NATO and EU aspirations, is within reach if critical pieces align quickly. The window is narrow and time is of the essence. On July 1st, Foreign Affairs Michael Carpenter outlined how Ukraine's battlefield resilience, coupled with shifting global dynamics, could enable a decisive push, provided the West abandons its half measures and acts boldly. This video explores Ukraine's journey, the West's faltering support, Russia's vulnerabilities, and the recipe for Ukrainian triumph. The Russia-Ukraine War, rooted in Putin's 2014 annexation of Crimea, escalated with Russia's 2022 invasion, aiming to subjugate Ukraine and block its Western integration. Russia's $87 billion defense budget, precipitously, dwarfed Ukraine's $12 billion, yet Ukraine's resolve held firm. By 2025, Russia controlled 20% of Ukraine's territory per Ossen, but at a staggering cost. Over 1 million casualties and $50 billion in equipment losses per oryx. Putin's demands, territorial concessions, military limits, and barring NATO/EU ties per the Atlantic Council, are tantamount to surrender. President Volodymyr Zelensky, a former comedian turned wartime leader, rejected capitulation. "We fight for our future, not theirs," he declared in a July 2025 Kyiv speech, rallying a nation under siege. In January 2025, as Donald Trump took office, he claimed 53 times during his 2024 campaign that he could end the war in 24 hours, per CNN. Washington expected a swift resolution, if not in 24 hours, then by summer 2025. Ceasefire talks in Turkey may yielded only a prisoner exchange, per Reuters, as Putin's terms clash with Ukraine's sovereignty. The U.S. narrative, fueled by Trump's claim that Zelensky had no cards left and Vice President J.D. Vance's assertion of no pathway to victory, per Carpenter, painted Ukraine as doomed. Russia's 427,000 casualties in 2024 for just 1,609 square miles per Ossen did little to deter Putin, reinforcing Western pessimism. Yet, Carpenter highlights 2 flaws, ignoring Ukraine's achievements and the West's inadequate response. Despite minimal early aid, Ukraine repelled Russia's 2022 Kyiv offensive, forcing a retreat by March. Over 3 years, it inflicted over 1 million casualties, destroyed 8,000 tanks, and sank 20% of Russia's Black Sea fleet, per Oryx. Ukraine's $4 billion drone program, per Defense Express, produced FPV quadcopters with 140 km per hour dives and 2.6 kilograms warheads, as seen in Operation Nightblaze, which destroyed $10 million in Russian fuel for $50,000. In August 2024, Ukraine's course incursion captured 400 square miles, holding it until June 2025, per Reuters. Partisans like 23-year-old Alina from Zaporizhia, risking execution, relayed intelligence via encrypted smartphones, enabling strikes like Nightblaze. "We're invisible, but we see everything," she told BBC Ukraine. The West's $435 billion in aid, per the Kiel Institute, prioritized offense over victory. Delays in advanced weapons, like Atom's missiles approved for Russian targets in November 2024 and unrestricted in May 2025, per Politico, cost Ukraine momentum. In 2024, Russia deployed T-14 Armata tanks and Su-57 jets, while Ukraine awaited F-16s, delivered only in June 2025, per Defense Express. Sanctions, touted as a nuclear option, faltered. The EU paid Russia $70 billion for gas and oil in 2022, exceeding its aid to Ukraine per GIS. Only 7 Russian banks faced swift sanctions in 2022, per Carpenter, allowing Russia's shadow fleet and trade with China to bypass restrictions. The West feared Putin's red lines, a Kyiv Post analyst noted, delaying Ukraine's offensive potential. Carpenter argues that victory, maintaining sovereignty in NATO/EU paths, is achievable if the West shifts its mindset. For critical changes are needed. Seizing frozen assets. The West holds $300 billion in Russian assets, mostly in the EU. Unfreezing these could fund Ukraine's drone program, infrastructure repairs, and weapons purchases. Legal concerns, raised by France's Emmanuel Macron in May, per Reuters, are countered by Putin's illegal invasion. Seizing assets would shock Russia's oligarchs. Philip Inman wrote in The Guardian, easing Western financial burdens and boosting Ukraine's morale. Co-production agreements. Partnerships in missile, drone, and cyber systems are vital. Germany's $5 billion aid in May included co-production for Taurus missiles. Per Defense Industry Europe. Denmark's $79 million deal in June integrated defense industries, while Ukraine's July 2nd joint weapons initiative invites global investment. Per Defense Express. These deals, cutting reliance on donations, defy Putin's isolation demands and align Ukraine with NATO. Strangling Russia's economy. Russia's economy, with a 20% interest rate, 68% sovereign wealth fund decline since 2022, and 9% inflation per carpenter, is fragile. The EU's $23.5 billion in Russian gas imports, per Al Jazeera, sustains Putin. An EU ban on Russian gas by 2027, per the European Commission, could slash Russia's oil profits by 25% in 2025. Tighter sanctions on Russia's shadow fleet and Chinese trade would deepen the crisis. Isolating China. Russia relies on China for dual-use components per carpenter. Sanctions on Chinese firms, leveraging Europe's trade influence, could strain Beijing's alliance with Moscow. China's Arctic ambitions clash with Russia's, per the BBC, and its interest in Siberia, per the Hill's leaked Russian documents, offer leverage. Iran, weakened by Israel's June 2025 strikes, provides little support, per Haaretz. Zelensky's leadership, honed in Kiev bunkers, inspires resilience. We'll fight with shovels if we must, he told CNN in 2025. Operators like Lieutenant Mykola Kovalenko, a Zaporizhzhia native, led drone strikes while his family endured occupation. Every hit is for them, he told his Dnipro team. Partisans, risking torture, relayed intelligence, while soldiers like Sergeant Irina Pavlenko, a former robotics student, piloted drones. On Russia's side, conscripts faced despair. A Corps survivor told Medusa, "We're cannon fodder." Civilians like 60-year-old Lviv teacher Maria rebuilt schools under missile strikes, telling Reuters, "We build while they destroy." Ukraine's position, strengthened by $500 million in EU drone aid, per Bloomberg, and Russia's stall fronts, per Maxar imagery, creates an opening. Operation Nightblaze, costing $50,000, destroyed $10 million in Russian assets, per HUR, showcasing Ukraine's efficiency. HUR's Colonel Andriy Yusov planned strikes using partisan data and Sentinel-2 imagery, targeting supply lines like the Tokmak-Melitopol Railway. The West shift, seen in Germany's co-production, signals momentum. Russia's propaganda, via RT, downplays losses, but 30% equipment losses, per Oryx, expose vulnerabilities. Ukraine's potential victory reshapes global alliances. NATO's $1.5 billion aid boost per NATO, and the EU's integration efforts counter Putin's demands. China's wavering support, strained by Arctic and Siberian tensions, weakens Russia's axis with North Korea and Iran, per Al Monitor. The U.S., despite pausing munitions in July, per CNN, faces pressure to re-engage, with Biden's 2024 aid package as precedent. Zelensky's July speech, viewed 10 million times on Telegram, rallied global support. A Kiev Post analyst wrote, Ukraine's drones turned Putin's blitz into a quagmire. Russia's economy, losing $100 billion annually, per Reuters, faces collapse if assets are seized. By 3 o'clock on July 4th, 2025, Ukraine's drone units plan new strikes, their resolve unshaken. The West must act now, or the window closes. What are your thoughts? Can Ukraine seize this moment, or will Russia's resilience prevail? Subscribe, like, and comment, and explore our coverage on Israel's strikes or Iran's setbacks for more insights.